This is the code in action video for chapter 19. In this chapter, we learned how to deploy our Next.js app using Vercel and using a custom deployment setup with Docker. First, let's create a new terminal, and then after having already installed the Vercel CLI, we can run it by running the Vercel command. This will ask us if we want to set up and deploy this folder. We will press yes. We can confirm the scope and all of the other questions with the default values by just pressing enter. And our app is deploying on Vercel. We can view the preview in the browser. As we can see, in the browser it is authenticating us, and if we are logged in, it will show us the current state of our project. We will see it's currently building, and we can click on the link to view the build status. And here we can see our app is building. It's been building for 20 seconds now. And this is the domain where it will be deployed. And here we can view details such as the logs of building our app and the summary and so on. So now let's wait for this to finish building. So now our app finished building and is now ready. We can also see a preview on the left here. And we can now visit our page by clicking the button or opening the URL that we saw before, which will now redirect us to the page. So here we can see our deployed Next.js blog. And it works the same way as before. We can sign up, log in, create posts and so on. And we have this additional bar here from Vercel where we can place comments on the page and write if something should be changed, or we can also share the page with other people, and more features that Vercel offers us. So let's see, we can sign up now. Then log in and create a new post. And we can see that everything works as expected. So this created a preview deployment on Vercel. If we want to deploy our app to production, we can run Vercel --prod. And this will create a production deployment that is accessible to anyone. So for the preview deployment, they will need to be logged into Vercel and have been invited by us to our project. Otherwise, they won't be able to see it. So we are now deploying it to chapter19.vercel.app. And we will have to wait for it to deploy. We can again inspect it here and see it in the Vercel dashboard, but we can also just wait until the CLI finishes building and deploying it. We can also see the status here in the CLI. So now let's wait. So as we can see, our app now finished building and deploying for production, and we can access our app using the vercel.app domain or the one that we specified. If we want a custom domain, we can specify that in the Vercel dashboard, but I will just use the default domain here, which is ch19.vercel.app in our case. So I will copy that, and we can now open that in a browser in an incognito tab. So here we won't be logged into Vercel. We can now open our app. And as we can see, the blog loads fine and we can view all the posts. If we want to use a custom deployment setup using Docker, we have also created a Docker file for our project here, and we can now build the container using the commands from the README. So here we can see how to build a container, which you would need to replace the database URL and secret for whatever you want, but this will work if you have the Docker container for the database server running on the same host, which we do. So now let's run the build command. This will take a while and build our Docker image. Okay, so now our Docker image finished building, and we can run our container by copying this docker run command here and making sure that we don't have a container called block Next.js yet and that our database container is running. So now, as we can see, we have created a new container and it's running, and we can now visit localhost 3000 in our browser. And here we can see our blog running successfully in the browser, deployed from the Docker container.